Yeah.
My name is Andrew, and I'm here today to refute the claim that current electric and hybrid motors will fail to be the solution to the crisis with fossil fuels. I intend to demonstrate that the advocate does not adequately support his claims, that he confounds his main claim with an irrelevant subclaim, and that he fails to explore other very important facets of the issue. His first supporting claim is that current electric and hybrid motors cause more harm to the environment than they prevent. He supports this by saying that depending on where you charge your car, you may end up polluting more CO2 than a conventional car. This is a conditional claim which only holds true if you're using an inefficient power grid. A study by the NRDC found that total emissions, when assuming the average composition and average efficiency of the U.S. energy grid, emissions would actually be much lower than using traditional vehicles. In addition, the United States energy grid is continually getting cleaner and more efficient with the expansion of renewable energy programs such as wind and solar. I think this is the biggest strength of the electric car. It shifts the burden of technological adoption onto the grid rather than the consumer. In short, it is much easier to roll out new efficient technology on the power plant level than it is to get every single consumer to buy a new car. He also states that the energy and pollution involved in production of an electric or hybrid vehicle is higher than that of an average conventional vehicle. This is undeniably true, but the nature of production means that this is a one-time release of pollution. These cars then go on to release less pollution than the traditional cars they would be replacing. According to a study by the United States Department of Energy, the pollution savings over the life of these electric and hybrid vehicles vastly offsets this initial expenditure. His second claim is that hydrogen fuel cells are a more viable alternative. Viability of a third potential solution, however attractive it may be, is entirely irrelevant to the original assertion about the efficacy of hybrid or electric vehicles. It does not say anything about the issue presented by the main claim, and thus should be dismissed. The original argument also fails to adequately discuss some very important issues. The original argument assumes that the crisis with fossil fuels has only to do with pollution. This is not true. It is a much more complex issue. The scarcity of fossil fuels is one such facet that cannot be ignored when discussing this crisis. Economically, fossil fuels are rapidly becoming much more expensive, while clean and renewable energy is becoming cheaper and more widely available. Decreasing dependence on fossil fuels has also become an important political goal within the past few years. By limiting discussion to pollution, you exclude the benefits that hybrid and electric cars may bring to these three areas. Thus, an argument that focuses only on pollution is incomplete at best. In conclusion, the advocate's argument is too narrow in scope to accurately assess the pros and cons of this issue, and it is supported by evidence that is conditional at best and, at times, completely irrelevant. When scarcity, economics, and politics are considered in addition to pollution, it seems unreasonable to immediately discount electric and hybrid motors as a solution to the fossil fuel crisis. Thank you.
All right, I thought that you did a good job not only laying out the claim, but the strategy that you're going to use in responding to the claim. The signpost on the first point was clear. The argument about it being a conditional claim was okay. I think that shift then to the grid issue is okay, except that you do need to have a little bit more information demonstrating that the electricity being produced on the grid is in fact coming from cleaner sources, and that the sources are getting more economical. You made the same assertion on the second point as well, and I think you need to back that up with some data on those particular points. It probably is true, but it seems more like it's a presupposition here than it is a valid piece of information. On the argument concerning the pollution that comes from production, I thought that your response here was really fine. You had a very good piece of evidence that says there's initial issues with the cost, the pollution costs of production, but over the life of the vehicle, it's an on-balance kind of benefit for us. And I think that that makes the point pretty effectively as to how we should be comparing the advocate's argument to the position that you're taking. The argument about hydrogen vehicles, I understand your desire to dismiss it. However, as I'm looking at the claim as it's written here, it's almost a prediction that says that it will fail to be the solution to the crisis. That might suggest that the reason it would fail is because a more effective alternative comes along. I don't know that the advocate really developed that as an argument, so I'm not sure whether or not dismissing it is the right idea at this particular point. In fact, the issue of pollution is only part of the issue with hydrogen, and I know that scarcity is in fact an issue. Hydrogen fuel is much more readily available, and the idea of it being nearly limitless is one of the things that would drive costs down. So I think there is an economic argument that goes on with that as well. I don't know that the advocate developed their argument very well. You give a pretty clear explanation about why you don't think it's relevant, and so this would be one of those things that I think would have to be debated out a little bit more to be sure how relevant the argument is. I thought you had an excellent summary of what the position was that you were taking on the argument, and an explanation as to why your conclusions are valid. Like I said before, also on that second point, I think you need to have some more information that says that these alternative fuels are in fact becoming more economically viable. All right, thank you.